Hello everyone, this is Hugo Melara. So, Mike Mentzer versus Doug Brignole. Who wins? Who has the better ideology? Who has the better training method? Well, actually, both of them win. Because Doug Brignole focused on biomechanics, which deals with exercise selection, which exercises give you the best load, which ones give you the best early phase loading, all of that stuff. And Mike Mentzer focused on intensity. What are the techniques for intensity? So if you combine the two of them, then you have a powerful mix. So what I'm about to show you is a conversation I had with Coach Marcus. He's a coach in Canada that basically has combined Doug Brignole and Mike Mentzer's methodologies, and he helps his clients get the best results in the least amount of time. Here we go. All right, so right now we have Coach Marcus, and I know you by Coach Marcus, but how do we call
Yes.
you? It's just Coach
Yeah,
Marcus?
Marcus is fine. Yeah.
Okay, well, Marcus, you know what? You contacted me via email after watching one of my videos,
Yeah.
and we've been talking about intensity. Mike Mentzer, Doug Brignole. We know
hmm
that Doug did a lot of great stuff regarding the biomechanics, but then
Yeah.
there's a missing piece in something that Doug was actually going towards, which is the intensity of the workouts, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important. I mean, of course, to distill some of the misinformation that may be out there,
Mm-hmm.
because as you already know, and I think I've already mentioned, there's a lot of stuff right now that's resurfaced or reignited for Mike Mentzer heavy duty training protocols,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. I mean, I've been an advocate for over 35 years. I've used it successfully in my own journey, fitness journey, and I'm teaching others right now, as you know, coaching people. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff I'd like to, just distill. What was Mike talking about? And of course, yes, Doug brings a very key part of it too. I mean, he really brought a refocus, to the biomechanics aspect of, why you're choosing exercise. Or at least everybody that is in the gym and putting the time in, you want to obviously maximize your effort. And part of that, of course, is choosing the right exercise. So Doug really brought a concept to the table that really revolutionized this aspect of biomechanics and getting the most out of your exercise. Because you can do anything. There's so many exercises out there, but which ones are going to be most productive? So if you marry the two, is what I'm finding, what I found, I was able to take what Doug brought, and of course, and added it to my what I already knew with Mike, because I've been a very prolific advocate for 3 decades. Mike's protocol was intensity was the main driver, and I tend to, and I've done both. I've done volume, of course I've done the intensity, and I found that the intensity is the driver. In my experience, I mean, Mike was right, and of course, it's not that he just woke up and had this epiphany that he got it from Arthur Jones, and of course, then it goes back down to even other guys that were proponents of the intensity even in the 40s. So it wasn't just that Mike woke up and had this epiphany on it, but it does work. And so in seeing a lot of what I'm seeing online with a lot of these fitness influencers, everyone's talking about Mike Mentzer this, Mike Mentzer that, one set to failure. And you know what? No, it's not just one set to failure. What they're not telling you, unfortunately, and I'm not sure if it's just intentionally that they want to, sort of just, how can I say it? They want to invalidate his theory or his philosophy. But if you really truly dig into it and understand Mike, and I've done a lot of research, of course, because I've been using his stuff for decades. And see, Mike, when Mike talks about high intensity training, what he's referring to, it all relates around your recovery abilities. And so Mike's method works more specific to a natural trainer that's not on PEDs. Okay, so if you're on PEDs, man, you can do anything and you're going to get some good results, really. And that's it. But if you're a natural trainer, you got to work with what you got. And recovery is an aspect of the training and that people just take for granted or don't even really look at it. Like, they just want to get their time in, and they just think that, okay, the more I do, the more I'm going to get, the better the results. But no, as a natural trainer, Mike basically says, his whole method is built on intensity. It's intense. The exercise needs to be intense, of course. And then there's, it needs to be brief and infrequent. Okay, so you need that recovery time. That's so important, because if you short circuit it, if you short circuit the process, you don't get the growth that you're looking for, because you're jumping in too soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, based on the understanding that we're talking, that if you're truly working out with intensity, Mike, what Mike really spoke about and really brought to the table with his training protocol was this intensity factor. So there's a ladder of intensity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just one set to failure. Now, will one set to failure work for a beginner? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because anything will work for a beginner. But as you advance and you get into intermediate and more advanced, then you're going to need more intensity, or that's going to drive your workout. So Mike really brought to the table a ladder of intensity. So you got your. So really, what I tell people is that if you really want to do a real Mike Mentzer workout, the workout actually starts once you come to failure. Once you hit failure. Once you hit failure, then that's when the workout actually starts, because now you're starting to move into like full force reps and negatives. And as you get into an advance, you can add infotonics and omni contractions and all this stuff. And so it's all there. But if you don't understand this, you're just thinking, it's just Mike's just talking about one set to failure. No, he's not. He had several programs. It wasn't just this one set to failure. He had several programs, his ideal workout, his consolidation workout, but it was all based on an individual's recovery ability. So if you were a hard gainer, for example, he experimented and found that consolidated training was something to help sort of kickstart their gains. And so that was more like the most minimalistic. That was the most minimalistic workout that he had, was this consolidation program, which was like really workout A and workout B, just 2 exercises in one set to failure. So, for example, you did the squat and the under grip pull downs one day, and the next workout, the B, which was about 4 or 5 days later, you did the dips and say deadlift or something, So that was it. But that's the consolidated routine. So it was very specific, and he was aiming it at more people that he found that couldn't, increase their strength or increase their size. So that was the consolidation routine. But Mike himself used his ideal routine, which was basically a 4-day split. And what it was like a chest and back. And then 48 hours, 72 hours later, he would do legs. Then again, the 48 hours, 72 hours later, he would do shoulders and arms. And then again, the 72 hours, he'd do legs again. So that was his ideal routine. That's what he used. Now, that you can do that. And I think it all depends on your recovery. And again, going back to Doug, I think Doug alluded to in some of the things that I got his book. It's great. His biomechanics stuff is phenomenal, and getting the best out of the exercise. And so what we mean by that is that as you're choosing an exercise, and as you know, Hugo, Doug was very big on, the strength curve. You got to match the strength curve of the muscle to the strength curve of the exercise.
Yeah.
And that's what he referred to as early phase loading.
And what you were saying about, Mike Mentzer stuff that works for people who are not on the juice, right? Who are natural, just like me. I'm totally natural. I just I have no intentions of taking any steroids ever, just because that's not my goal to get bigger or anything like that. I just want to stay functional and I want to get stronger and everything. And the reason I found Doug's stuff was because there was a time that I was trying to do heavy presses, and I don't know, I heard something that for like a few months I couldn't raise my left arm. I just couldn't raise it. Right. So I started learning more about the biomechanics, and now I don't do any overhead presses at all. I just do for example, like the front deltoid press that Doug recommends, and I was like, oh, that really works for me. And I only do 2 sets per exercise. Just do one exercise, the ones that Doug recommends, and that has worked for me. But also I can see my recovery is not that great, so I have to go intense, 2 sets intense, rest, and probably I can do twice a week. But probably now I'm like trying to space the workouts a little further, And
so if intensity is the driver, then you're going to need the time to recuperate. And getting back to your point with maybe there's a lot of people that can't do heavy presses, and that's okay. One of the things that Mike advocated as one of his training in the toolkit, in the toolbox, is pre-exhaust. So a pre-exhaust, basically what that does is that when you're incorporating 2 exercises, The idea here is that, for example, for a bench press, when you do a bench press, the weakest link in the bench press is your triceps. That will go first. So usually, when that happens, then it's gonna mitigate how many. It's gonna affect the amount of reps you want to get. So what pre-exhaust does is that it allows you to exhaust the muscle with an isolation movement, and then you move right into the compound movement, which means that the major muscle you're trying to work with, in this case, would be the chest.
Yeah,
if you were to do flies, for example, first, and then move right into a press, either dumbbell or using the barbell, back to back, no rest, then you find that the triceps are still strong and fresh because the isolation exercise is pre-exhausting the main muscle you're targeting, which is your chest.
Right.
And so you'd have more, in that way, you don't have to press heavy because you're not going to be able to do a heavier on the compound because you've already pre-exhausted, using the isolation movement.
I want to demonstrate the Mentzer pre-exhaust principle using the chest fly into a press exercise. So you're going to be using a 4-2-4 rep cadence. So that's 4 seconds down. Get a nice stretch at the bottom and 4 seconds up. Hold for static hold of 1 to 2 seconds and then repeat. Another 4 seconds going down on the eccentric part. Stretch and 4 seconds back up. And hold for a static hold 1 to 2 seconds. And then you're going to, once you've done 6 to 10 reps, you're going to move right into the press. Same thing. Try to maintain a 4-2-4. And here you're going to aim for about 3 to 6 reps once you convert into the pressing movement. And that's basically it. That's the pre-exhaust 1 cycle. And you would normally do 2 cycles. And that would be it pretty much for chest.
So I would definitely advocate as adding that as one of the tools for intensity in certain target muscle groups, chest. You can do it for back as well, with a pull down of some sort, and then right into a rowing movement. That works very well there too. So so pre-exhaust is one of the tools that I've used. And I highly recommend it to some of my clients as well. And one of the ways to increase the intensity without having to increase the weight on the compound movement, because once you pre-exhaust the muscle, you won't be able to push a heavier weight. You're still going to feel it but it's not like it's heavy.
So it's not really like heavy duty. It's not really heavy weights. It's more like heavy intensity.
It's heavy intensity, but it does involve heavy weights as well, relative to the individual.
Right, exactly.
So you're looking at what you're looking at is the rep range. Okay, so what's the rep range? Well, Mike advocated 6 to 10 reps for most exercises. In that range, it's going to get heavy because the other thing is that the time under tension, right? As you're taking about a 4-second concentric, a 2-second static, 1 to 2 second static, and another 4-second eccentric. So that involves a real dynamic mind-muscle connection. And so how I train my clients is that I tell them, listen, do a warm-up set, whatever, depending on what we're doing for that day. Usually it's we're doing 3 muscle groups for the day. For high intensity training session, it would be entail 3 muscle groups, and it's only 10 minutes each. So you're looking at 30 minutes. You're done in 30 minutes, but you do 3 muscle groups, 10 minutes each.
Oh, nice.
And so do the warm-up set. In the warm-up set, there's no prescribed rep range. I tell them, this is what I tell my clients that are doing the heavy-duty protocol. I said, listen, for the warm-up, all you're doing is you're trying to establish the mind-muscle connection. That's the only thing you're really trying to do. So if it takes you 5 reps to do that with a light weight, do it with 5 reps. It takes you 15 reps, do 15. But there's no formula for the warm-up as far as reps. Just establish the mind-muscle connection because you're moving pretty rapidly. You're doing 10 minutes per body part, and in 30 minutes you're done. But boy, you have definitely gone through the gauntlet, and you have definitely that you've had a high intensity workout for sure. So it can entail heavy weights, yes. but never at the expense of course, you don't want to put anyone in a situation where they could be injured. You don't want that. It's got to be totally under full control, and that's why the rep cadence of time under tension is typically a 4-1-4. So and that's totally under control. That is totally under control. And you can play around with it. You can do a 2-second on the concentric on the lift, 1 second static, and then a 4-second on the eccentric, the lowering. So the lowering is very beneficial, and I would really want to advise for your viewers that are in, that take advantage of the negative of the lowering. So actually slow it down. Really slow it down, because there's a real benefit in that in doing it that way for sure. So a 2-1-4 is a good repetition cadence.
What about frequency? Like how much? Twice a week?
So basically, the heavy duty protocol is intense. Number one, the intensity is the driving factor. Number two is it's brief, which I just told you, 10 minutes per body part for 3 body parts. That's 30 minutes, and it's infrequent. So the frequency you're looking, ideally, you're probably going to be taking 3 to 4 days. I wouldn't do any more than 3. Take 3 to 4 days between your workouts, and that's where you're going to get the success, I think. As a natural, you're going to need the recovery. Can you do cardio in between? Yeah, but I wouldn't go overboard. If you're trying to build strength and muscle, you don't want to overdo it with cardio. But you can do cardio in between your days, the days of your recovery, but don't push it too much. Yeah.
Okay, and this is basically just training. Now, nutrition is another thing, but we're not going to cover it. Of course, I'm going through a fitness journey. I'm learning all this stuff. And my heaviest weights are probably just like a warm-up for you. And we see, I can see your shoulders, your arms. You definitely know what you're talking about, because if I say it, they'll be like, look, this guy's learning. But we can see, you're 45, right? 45 years old?
No, I'm 60.
60. Look at those shoulders. Look at those arms. This guy knows what he's talking about. So, guys, if you guys want to get trained by Marcus, contact him. I'm going to leave his email on the link below. You can tell us what your email is or how you would like people to contact you, Marcus.
Yeah, email is great. CoachMarcusFit50@gmail.com.
All right. And you focus mostly on people over 40, over 50?
Mostly. Yes. Yeah. Basically, I've got a few that are just late 30s. I've got a few in their 50s. So it's all over. My main. I don't have. I have a handful doing heavy duty. Most of them are just doing strength conditioning. Functional fitness, strength conditioning, which is fine. But for those who are more interested in really building heavy duty, the protocol, if any of your viewers has questions, I'm happy to answer any questions related to it. And if they want to have a consultation with me to, tweak their routine or help them, I'm happy to do that for sure.
Definitely. We're going to have you back, some other time to ask you more questions. But what I want to ask you is, how did you build this physique? Because it looks impressive, man. 60 years old, look like that. That's how I want to look.
60, yes. Well, 60 next year. 2024 is my 60th birthday.
Oh man.
Yeah, I have to say, what, Hugo? Honestly, I think genetics plays a role in that as well. You can never minimize that. Genetics definitely plays a role in that. But the other, for those that are that are not genetically predisposed, the key is that consistency pays the greatest dividends over time, no matter what you're doing. Whatever your pursuit is, whatever your hobbies are, whatever. So consistency pays the greatest dividends over time. So if you're consistent, then you're gonna have better days. You're gonna have good days. You're gonna have not so good days. You got to force yourself in. But what I like about Mike's routine is that it allows you to free up your time to do other things.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that are spending 5, 6, 7 days in the gym every week, they have no social life. They have no family life. You don't want that. If you want to get results, then Mike was a very intelligent guy. This is that's what caught my attention in my 20s when I was starting this out. Right, I thought this guy's making sense. And he was going. He's like a salmon swimming upstream against the current. Everything he was talking about was like it made sense, but it was totally everyone was volume driven. 20 sets per body part, this and 20s. But this guy makes sense. So I try. People were looking at me. They're like I had 2 heads in the gym, when I was doing this stuff in my early 20s. But it makes sense, and I got results, and I thought I'm sticking with it. This guy makes sense, and so as I evolved, I got more understanding. But consistency is what is the main factor here. But intensity is the driver. Volume, it's not. You don't need a lot of volume. You
Mhm.
don't, and the frequency, you don't need a lot of frequency. But you do need the intensity, you do need the recovery, and you don't want to short circuit your recovery, because if you short circuit
Right.
the recovery, you're going to short circuit your growth as well. So, and that just defeats the purpose. Like, why are you in the gym if you're not getting results, right? So, if you haven't been
Definitely.
getting results, it might very well be that you're short circuiting your recovery. If in fact you're training intense, right? I'm making the assumption that if you're training intense, you may be short circuiting your recovery. You don't want to minimize it, because it's 50-50. You know, I've come to understand that your training is 50% of it, and your recovery is 50% of it.
Mhm.
And of course, your nutrition fits in there as well. You need, obviously, you need to sleep. You need to, eating quality protein and stuff. And but as a natural, yeah, it can be done. Absolutely, can be done. You can build a very impressive physique if you're consistent and you work the principles and find what works with you, and find the right exercises and use the right intensity factors like pre-exhaust, forced reps, negatives. And as I said, there's other advanced principles that we won't get into now, but I just briefly mentioned them. But it doesn't take a lot. 10 minutes per body part, 3 body parts, you've done it in 30 minutes.
Wow.
Twice a week. To just 2 workouts. Workout A and workout B every 4 to 5 days. That's all you need, and you'll get phenomenal results if you stick with it and build it.
Love it, Marcus. And I love that what you said is genetics has a big big role to play in this.
It does play a factor. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the thing, is that's not an excuse for people like, well, I could never look like Marcus here. No. It's like, do the best to be the best version of yourself.
That's right.
Consistency, keep going, right? You different people are built differently, so just do your best, right? But the great thing is, I wish I had the time and energy to be in the gym all the time, but I know I work, I have a side business, I also have a family, young children, and I love doing all this other stuff with them.
Yeah.
So being efficient is very important for me. But one thing I've learned is that whenever you are doing something and you hit a roadblock, you need guidance. And that's what you provide for your clients, because they might not know
Absolutely.
what to do.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
they ask
Yeah,
you.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been on my journey for almost 4 decades. And so, like I said, there's a lot of stuff right now on the internet with Mike Mentzer, but I just wanted to distill the myths. It's not just one set to failure, and that's all Mike was talking about. There's so much more that he was talking. He as I said, he has a ladder of intensity that once you understand the different applications of different principles of high intensity, and you can add them into your workout as you progress into intermediate and advanced, then you're going to start, see consistent results and success in the gym. But it's not just this, one set to failure, that's all Mike's. No, he didn't say that. It's a ladder of intensity, and it all ties into your recovery. A lot of these factors. It's not just one size. It's not a one size fits all.
Right.
You got to find what works for you. But I definitely believe that intensity is the driving factor, and it's not volume. Not volume. It's too much junk volume in the gyms. I've been into many gyms, and a lot of guys thinking that more is better, but it's not. It's not necessarily more. The quality of the effort is the key driver, and doing it right and using these different applications. Yeah, for sure. So Mike was right, and Doug obviously brought an important part to it, I believe, which was the biomechanics, picking the right exercise. If Mike had known what Doug brought, I think Mike would have got even better results, because Mike was using exercises like lateral raises, which aren't the best, because, as I said, as I was talking to you about the early phase loading, lateral raise. The muscle is strongest at the start and weaker at the top. And when you do a lateral raise, it's heaviest at the top when you're weaker. That's not the ideal exercise. Does it still work? Yeah, you can still get results from it, but so if Mike had known that, I think, and this is what I bring to the table, is I see what Doug brought, and I'm just modifying it and adding it to Mike's heavy duty and exercise selection, and that's why you're going to get even a better result out of it now.
That's a powerful combination right there. Bringing in Mike Mentzer and Doug Brignole, bringing them together, offering something. I think that's something that a lot of us will want to know.
Thank you. Appreciate your invitation today, and look forward to spending more time with you down the road.
Definitely. No, Marcus, thank you so much. Thank you for all this information.
All right, Hugo. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Ciao.
A long time ago, everybody started saying that more sets was better. Volume was important, right? So, I thought, okay, if that's true, then 10 sets is going to be better than 8 sets. 12 sets is better than 10 sets. But the problem is once you start doing 10 and 12 sets per muscle group, the workout starts getting longer and longer.
Yeah.
And you realize that, I'm in the gym now 2.5 hours. It's just long, right? So then the natural or the logical thing to do then is to split it up more. So you're not doing as many body parts each day. And instead of doing a 3-way split, you're doing a 4-way split or a 5-way split. Eventually I was doing a 5-way split. It took me 5 days to finish all my muscle groups one time.
Wow.
Which meant that I wasn't starting over again until the 6th or 7th, maybe even the 8th day. And so I was missing the frequency window.
I see.
And so that's why it was so shocking to me when I went from 12 sets once a week to 3 sets twice a week. 3 sets twice a week being a total of only 6 sets.
Okay.
6 sets being only half of what I was doing before, which was 12 sets. Right? And I was growing more on 3 sets twice a week than I was growing with 12 sets once a week. When you're doing 3 sets instead of 12 sets, each of those 3 sets will be more intense.
Okay.
Because you're only doing 3 sets.
Yes.
Right? So now, that I do only 3 sets, now I can think about, wow, I just worked my chest with 3 sets. My chest is fried. Could I do 12 sets like those 3 I just did? No, I couldn't even do 6 sets like I just did. So you realize that your subconscious brain knows to work a little harder when it's doing fewer sets. So the intensity of the first set versus the intensity of the second or third set is a little bit less, but not a lot less, because even if you're using a weight that challenges you for 30 reps, those 30 reps can cause growth.
Okay.
If that set is close to failure.
And how do you know you're close to failure? Because I don't know. I feel I am, but I don't know if that's really what it is.
All right. Well, that's a very good question. And I've often said when I do my lectures that different people's interpretation of failure is different.
Yes.
Right. Now, there's one thing that you can't question. That's not a matter of judgment. And that is when you're doing a set, there will come a time when you cannot do one more rep. That's failure.
Yes.
Right? Or if you can't finish that last rep, if you're stuck right there, or if you have to do all kinds of weird twisting to do it, you fail. That's failure.